I am glad to welcome you all. On Turkmenistan. Today we are holding an international forum dedicated to the 300 called The Relationship of Times, Paralysis, the Basis of Peace and Development. On my own behalf, on behalf of the people of Turkmenistan, I would like to thank the heads of state, heads of representatives of governments, parliaments, international organizations, and all distinguished guests who accepted our invitation and participated in this international forum. Many events were held dedicated to the significant date of the great thinker and poet Akdamkuli and Fraga, who lived in the 18th century. His monuments were solemnly erected at home and abroad. Dear guests, Makdamkuli and enemies, being a master of words and a great thinker of his time and all eras, in his works, calls all mankind to peace and unity. Dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, I hereby declare open an international forum dedicated to the tercentenary of Makdamkuli enemies, the relationship of times and civilizations, the basis of peace and development. Dear forum participants, the Turkmen people have created spiritual and cultural values over their 1,000-year history. And the master of world literature, our outstanding thinker Makdamkuli, with his valuable views for all mankind, took a permanent place in the treasury of world culture. That is why the works related to the extensive study of the poet's life and work are supported by prestigious international organizations and countries around the world. And today's event dedicated to the tercentenary of the birth of our great poet, Makdamkuli and Fraga, has a special significance. Dear forum participants, today, the holiday in honor of Makdamkuli, the great thinker and poet of the Turkmen people, has become a holiday for the whole world. Makdamkuli's wise thoughts and enemies have become a way of life for both our people and representatives of other nations. The collection of manuscripts of Makdamkuli and enemies is included in the program of the United Nations Educational, Scientific, Cultural Organization, Memory of the World. The tercentenary of the poet's birth in this organization has been added to the number of significant dates celebrated within the framework of this prestigious event. And all this testifies to the great devotion and respect of the Turkmen people to the great master of the word. The International Organization of Turkish Culture has declared 2024 year the year of Makdamkuliyev, the great poet and avenger of the Turkic world. Dear forum participants, in the country, 2024 year has been declared the year of the storehouse of wisdom of Makdamkuli and Fraga. the national leader of the Turkmen people, our hero Arkady, took the initiative to celebrate the tercentenary of the birth of the great thinker Maktam Kuli and spread the poet's works in the world, which have become a universal value. Famous Turkmen and foreign writers, poets, scientists, artists, masters of art have created many works dedicated to the great poet and created wonderful works. And these works were of great importance in studying the rich literary heritage of the great poet and spreading it all over the world. The construction of a majestic monument to the great son of Turkmen Maktam Kuli Fragi and a cultural and park complex in a picturesque corner of our capital Ashgabat in the foothills of Kapadag is closely connected with the wise initiatives of our national leader of the Turkmen people, hero Arkady. The statues of foreign writers and poets erected in this park complex is another bright symbol of friendship and brotherhood in the fortress state of Maktam Kuli's dreams enemies. I want to emphasize that monuments to Maktam Kuli and enemies have been erected in a number of foreign countries. Such noble actions strengthen the bridges of friendship and brotherhood between our peoples. Dear participants, the rich heritage of Maktam Kuli determined the basis of the foreign policy of the Turkmen state. His fundamental ideas of peace, justice, humanism, friendship, and respect for all peoples are of great importance in relations with other states. The wise poet, who played a significant role in the formation of the Turkmen national character, visited many countries of the world and got to know the world. It left an indelible mark on his memory. It also led to the improvement of his worldview. In addition, it prompted the mutual enrichment of cultures and knowledge between countries. Dear forum participants, Maktam Kuli's poetry is a hymn to patriotism. He is a patriotic poet who loves his people, his land, wants to protect and appreciate it. He is a great thinker who wished happiness to mankind and pointed out the right way to achieve it. The poet's poems help to educate patriotism and high morality in generations. Educated, professional people are growing out of them, worthy of doing good deeds for the country and for all mankind. Dear forum participants, Maktam Kuliev's legacy is a great achievement for us. We consider it our sacred duty to be faithful to the testament of a wise poet. Following his will, we will further strengthen the unity and integrity of our people, our solid statehood. We will expand our friendship, good neighborliness, and mutually beneficial relations with other countries. We are always ready to contribute to the cause of peace and harmonious development of mankind. In conclusion, I wish all participants good health, happiness, and great success in responsible work. Thank you for your attention. Dear participants of the International Forum, ladies and gentlemen, I now give the floor to His Excellency the President of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Masoud Pezeshkian. You have a word. In the name of Allah, the Mercy of the Merciful. First of all, I sincerely thank His Excellency Mr. Serdar Berdimuhamedov, the esteemed President of Turkmenistan, as well as His Excellency Mr. Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov, the national leader of Turkmenistan, for inviting and organizing this important cultural event, named after the memory of the great personality of the famous mystic, Makdum Gulafaragi. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, in a large political and cultural territory, in the heart of which today is the Iran and Turkmenistan, and during the Seljuks, poets and historians mentioned its borders from Ceyhan to the Euphrates and sometimes from Kashgar to Aleppo, for a long time. People have lived in peace and harmony, despite ethnic, linguistic diversity, have common cultural and civilizational heritage. There has always been a more or less unified and integral cultural structure in this vast territory. Despite the existence of various partial linguistic groups, languages and delegates and dialects that differ from each other, as well as the rise and fall of different ruling dynasties of culture, the manifestation of this vast space has always been inspired from the same sources. And that is why various aspects of culture, art, and literature have such an exact and affinity. Relations and friendship of the two great peoples of Iran and Turkmenistan as to neighboring countries, neighbors with communal borders, have always been friendly, fraternal, and based on mutual interests. And they are currently developing dynamics. An important part of the history, literature, and culture of the Iranian people are closely connected with the peoples of the culture area of Central Asia, as well as the light emanating from one prism that fills our world with its splendor and breadth. The existence of the religion of Islam has also spread Islamic canons in Central Asia through Iran, and the cultural and religious exchange created along with the linguistic affinity between Iranian ethnic groups and ethnic groups living in Central Asia has further contributed to prosperity. Ladies and gentlemen, the strength and stability of friendly relations between nations are due to the activities and concerns of scientists and interpreters of morality and spirituality. The exchange of ideas and cultural interactions between human groups were formed outside the will of states, and do not know borders and barriers. In this context, the role of such religions of our poetry, literature as Ferdowsi, Rudaki, said Khayyam, and many other stars of science and art in providing pure culture and wealth of the civilization of the East is no secret to anyone. Our wise writer and great poet, Makdum Gulafaragi, is also a vivid example of this civilizational path, and the standard-bearer of the Turkmen language. Throughout his fruitful life, he left a legacy and an important trace in the development of valuable human concepts. And his poems filled our literary garden with fragrance. Many reasons for the preservation of our customs, traditions, languages are due to the diligent efforts of great people who put their soul into it. If the Persian language owes its revival to a great poet such as Ferdowsi, Then the Turkmen language and literature also owes the effort of great poets and writers such as Maktam Kuli, who played an irreplaceable role in preserving Turkmen literature. Perhaps the greatest concern of Maktam Kuli was the preservation of human heritage, dignity in the face of events that still threaten and affect our surrounding world. Attention and spirituality, morality, justice, freedom, unity, equality of human rights, along with a correct understanding of Islamic concepts and love for the family of the Prophet, is a reflection of the thoughts and consistency of logic of this great mystic. The vastness of the influence and penetration of the outstanding literature of the East demonstrates new aspects of the desire for knowledge. And the poems of Maktam Kuli as a treasure of moral qualities also occupies a place in this system. According to the conviction of this great poet, Islam has no other purpose than human happiness and appearance to complement the moral superiority, education, and revival of the human spirit. We also believe, together with our great thinkers, that Islam is a religion of peace and brotherhood. The mission of the Prophet Muhammad consists only in the improvement of moral qualities. One of the topics that I would like to touch upon is the existence of hidden conspiracies, aimed at separating and creating hostility between Islamic faiths. This is an issue that should be taken into account by the entire Islamic community. A significant part of the Islamic world is under threat of extremism and the growth of groups that see the meaning of their existence in Russians' discord among Islamic society. When great people like Maktam Kuli talk about the unity and cohesion of Islamic communities, they are well aware of the dark sides and the troubles of separation. Following the verse of the Holy Quran, "Pray for Allah's shipyard all together, and do not differ," is the best and most effective way to prevent any disagreements. Dear participants, the focus on unity and the establishment of harmony is not limited only to the Islamic community, but also concerns peace and the deepening of brotherhood and the creation of a dialogue of consent which is necessary for the modern international community. However, in this process, many elements of one-sidedness continue to be violated. We see a vivid example of this today in Palestine, where the rights of a people with their own history, culture, and specific and unique elements of identity are ignored. When it comes to injustice and oppression, an image of the suffering of the defenseless people of Gaza arises in our minds. The depth of the crisis in Gaza and the severity of the use in this unequal war, as well as the consistent barbaric attack on the cities of Lebanon, defies description. Other themes and examples in Maktam Kuli's poetry include his correct understanding and fear of the spread of ignorance that can be caused by immorality and separation from spirituality, has been posing numerous challenges to our age for many years. In conclusion, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the distinguished government of Turkmenistan once again for organizing this important cultural event. I hope that the strengthening and development of cultural cooperation, especially the holding of such events, will be an important step in the worthy provision of our common outstanding figures. Thank you all for your attention.
Dear Masood, thank you for your deeply informative presentation. The creative life of the outstanding Turkmen thinker, Maktam Faragi, is also inextricably linked with Iran. Dear Masood Fizashkin, we sincerely thank you for organizing numerous cultural events in Iran on the occasion of the tercentenary of the famous Turkmen poet of the East Maktam Kulis. Taking into account your contribution to the strengthening of cultural and humanitarian ties between the two countries, as well as to the scientific study of the creative heritage of the great master of words, we have decided to award you with the Jubilee Medal of Turkmenistan for the tercentenary of Maktam Kulen. Congratulations on the award. Dear participants of the International Forum, ladies and gentlemen, I now give the floor to His Excellency President of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, Asif Ali Zardari. You have a word. His Excellency Serdar Berdi Muhammadov, President of Turkmenistan. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, distinguished scientists, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum, and good morning to everyone. It is truly a great honor for me to address this high assembly in honor of the tercentenary of the birth of Maktam Fraga, an iconic figure of Turkmen literature and a symbol of cultural and spiritual enlightenment. I express my sincere gratitude to the government and the fraternal people of Turkmenistan for organizing this prestigious event, aimed at promoting mutual understanding, peace, and dialogue between cultures. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan and Turkmenistan are bound by an indissoluble fraternal friendship, based on mutual respect, common faith, and the common goal of achieving a better peaceful future. My participation in this conference reflects our commitment to strengthening these ties between our fraternal countries. We need to focus on promoting ties between the countries of the region, which will help strengthen cultural and economic cooperation. I am happy to note that one of our founders, our compatriot, poet Allama Muhammad Iqbal, and Maktam Kuli, enemies, have a lot in common. In his poetry and views on Sufism and nationalism, Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, Maktam Fragi is not only a poet, but also a symbol of the spirit, aspirations, and love of the Turkmen people for their homeland. His works, written in the 18th century, continue to sound and find their reflection today. They serve as a guiding star for us, a source of inspiration and a sense of unity. Maktam was born during a period of serious political and social upheavals, when the Turkmen tribes were divided and divided. However, despite these difficulties, he devoted his life to the dream of seeing the unity of the Turkmen people. I would like to thank President of Turkmenistan Serdar Berdimuhamedov for organizing this event, aimed at popularizing the work of Maktam Kuliev enemies, as well as for the opportunity to interact with the leaders of the countries of the region, which will contribute to strengthening our friendly ties. I also congratulate the Turkmen people on declaring 2024 year the year of the great poet and thinker of the Turkic world, Maktam Kuli, and enemies. I am sure that our discussions and interactions at this conference will not only honor the memory of Maktam Kuli and the enemies, but also open up new ways of cultural cooperation between our countries. Let's take this opportunity to reaffirm our commitment to the values he honored and work together to build a bright and peaceful future for future generations. I am also glad to meet with President Serdar Berdimuhamedov, the son of my great friend, and former President Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov, with whom I had the opportunity to meet several times on various forums. Not only a great politician, but also an outstanding scientist and author of many books. In conclusion, I would like to quote such beautiful lines of Maktamkuli and Fraga. I dream of a nation free and united, where every heart beats with dignity. Turkmens stand firm, their spirit is clear. Together we will shine in the light of freedom. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Dear Asif Elizardari, thank you so much for your informative presentation. On the occasion of the tricentenary of Maktam Kulifaragi, a number of scientific conferences and creative meetings are also held in Pakistan. They honor the works of our wise poet, imbued with deep wisdom. Dear Asif Elizardari, for services in popularizing the famous Turkmen poet, I have decided to award you with the Jubilee Medal for the tricentenary of Maktam Kuli Faragi. Congratulations on your award. Dear forum participants, I now give the floor to His Excellency President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin.
Dear Vladimir Vladimirovich, thank you very much. Dear Serdar Gurbanguly Gulyevich, dear ladies and gentlemen, friends. International Forum, the relationship of times and civilization. The foundation of peace and development, dedicated to the tercentenary of the birth of the thinker and philosopher, poet and public figure Mahmud Kuli Fragi, is very relevant today in the modern world. Mahmud Kuli is deservedly considered by his enemies to be a great humanist, the founder of Turkmen poetry and literature. And the works of Mahmud Kuli, his richest creative heritage, are rightfully included in the Golden Fund of World Culture. Mahmud Kuli was one of the first who revealed the beauty of the Turkmen language in all its completeness and diversity. He had a unique poetic style to express thoughts briefly, but at the same time succinctly and aphoristically. Many of his sayings, as they say, have gone to the people, have become catchphrases, proverbs, sayings. The books of Mahmud Quli were not only read, they were kept at home as a sacred relic. What I would like to pay special attention to. During the Second World War, as they used to say in the Soviet Union, and as this war was called during the Great Patriotic War, in letters to the Turkmen fighters at the front, their relatives quoted the poet's poems, tried to encourage the soldiers, inspire them with courage and bravery. To quote one of these phrases, all our tribes are marching under the shadow of righteous banners from all sides. The works of Mahmud Quli have been translated into Russian. It is reliably known that the poet himself lived for quite a long time near Astrakhan, in the village of Funtovo, where the Turkmen diaspora has been compactly living since the end of the 17th century to the present day. In the 2019 year, a school named after Mahmud Quli appeared there, built on the initiative of Gruba Golomi Libkulevich Berdimuhamedov. In Astrakhan itself, there is a monument to Mahmud Quli, and in September, a bust of this outstanding poet was unveiled in Moscow in a solemn atmosphere. Far ahead of his era, Mahmud Quli never stopped in his creative and spiritual search and always aspired to knowledge and truth. By the power of his genius, he managed to anticipate the future of his region and people. With his work, Mahmud Quli invariably appealed to purity, justice, and equality, not only in relations between people, but also between entire states, between nations. He advocated the establishment of high ideals of friendship and good neighborliness, and he perspicuously tried to convey these thoughts to future generations, calling for harmony and responsibility, tolerance and understanding, respect and solidarity. All this is close and understandable to sane people today, and is especially relevant and in demand in the current difficult situation, when the world is facing unprecedented threats generated by civilizational fractures, intraethnic and interfaith conflicts, when international relations have entered the era of global fundamental changes, when a new world order is being formed, reflecting the diversity of the entire planet. And this natural process is irreversible. New powerful centers of economic growth, financial and political influence are emerging, first of all here, in the global East, in the global South as a whole. These new centers strive to preserve and strengthen sovereignty and sociocultural identity, seek ways of harmonious development, in accordance with their traditions and based on national interests. The state of the world majority, of which Russia is a part, and all the countries represented at the forum, stand in the spirit of Mahmud Quli's philosophical approaches for a more equitable distribution of benefits, for the consistent democratization of international life. We are convinced that universal peace and comprehensive development can be achieved only on the basis of taking into account the opinions of each people, while respecting the right of each state to its sovereign course, to its worldview, to its traditions and religious beliefs. I would like to emphasize that Russia stands for the widest possible international discussion on the parameters of interaction. In the emerging multipolar world, we are open to discussing issues of building a new world order with all our friends, partners, and like-minded people, including within the CIS, EUROSEC, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and BRICS. And it is in this vein that we are preparing for the BRICS and BRICS Plus outreach summits, to be held in Kazan on October 22-24. And of course, we would like to welcome the host of our meeting, Serdar Gurbangulyevich Berdimuhamedov. and many other leaders present at this forum, at the events in Kazan. In conclusion, I would like to take this opportunity to especially thank the current leadership of Turkmenistan, its president, as well as the national leader of the Turkmen people Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov for following the precepts of Mahmud Quli, making a significant contribution to the preservation of peace and stability in our common region, to the expansion of multifaceted cooperation and partnership. Thank you for your attention. Dear Vladimir Vladimirovich, thank you for your informative speech. I would like to note that the anniversary of the poet Maksim Quli is widely and solemnly celebrated in the Russian Federation. A significant event was the opening of the bust of Maksim Quli in the Library of Foreign Literature in Moscow. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for your support and assistance in this work. Dear Vladimir Vladimirovich, I have decided to award you the Maksim Quli Enemies Jubilee Medal. This will become another bright symbol of the strong friendship between our peoples and countries. Congratulations.
Dear participants of the International Forum, colleagues, friends, now I give the floor to His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kazakhstan, Kassym-Jomart Kemilevich Tokayev. Please.
Dear Serdar Kurbangulovich, dear, first of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to you for the invitation and warm hospitality. And to dear Arkadak Kurbangul Molekulovich, let me congratulate all participants of the forum on a significant event, the tercentenary of the birthday of the great son of the Turkmen people Maksim Quli. This event has a special significance for our peoples. Maksim Quli is the founder of the Turkmen classical literature and an outstanding thinker of the East. His works have been translated into many languages and are included in the treasury of world literature. A clear example of the historical significance of the figure of Maksim Quli Faragi was the decision of UNESCO to include his work in the International Register of the Memory of the World. UNESCO rightly considers the collection of the Maksim Quli manuscript as the most beautiful example of the Turkmen people. Maksim Quli is especially revered in the Turkic world. That is why the Turksoy organization declared in the 24th year the year of memory of the great poet and thinker Maksim Quli. I am sure that this decision will contribute to the further popularization of his work at the international level. Against the backdrop of a complex geopolitical situation and many global challenges, the spiritual legacy of the great thinker is gaining even greater relevance and significance. The poetry of Maksim Quli and his enemies, deeply imbued with humanistic ideas, once again reminds us all of the enduring value of peace, trust, and mutual respect. All his poems, imbued with selfless love for the motherland. He saw a bright future for his people in the form of unity with the world, life, and in harmony with others. And this was understood as a guarantee of a bright future. The work of Maksim Quli of Enemies allows not only to comprehend the essence of the events of the past, but also to understand the origins of modern problems of mankind. The thinker made an invaluable contribution to the formation of the Turkic identity and statehood. Honoring the glorious heritage of previous generations is the duty of the entire nation. Such a large-scale event vividly emphasizes the reverent attitude of the Turkmen leadership and the entire people to the glorious heritage of previous generations. Today we are all witnessing the dynamic development of Turkmenistan, large-scale social, economic, and political reforms, aimed at further strengthening the centuries-old Turkmen statehood. Next year, Turkmenistan will celebrate the 30th anniversary of permanent neutrality. The fraternal people firmly adhere to this principle. Consistently adhering to this status, preserving its identity, firmly defending national interests, Turkmenistan consistently strengthens its authority in the international arena. Neutral Turkmenistan makes a significant contribution to strengthening security and stability in the world, as well as promoting diverse cooperation between Central Asia and the Caspian region. The United Nations has declared the 25th year the International Year of Peace and Trust. This grateful initiative was put forward by Turkmenistan. The successes of your country have become a vivid example of the fulfillment of Maktam Kulev's cherished dream of creating a strong Turkmen state, and today Turkmenistan is a prosperous, strong state. In this regard, I would like to emphasize the outstanding role of the national leader of the Turkmen people, the respected Arkadak Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov, in building a strong, prosperous Turkmenistan and popularizing the ideas of the great poet and philosopher at the international level. Maktam Kulev's work is very close to the Kazakh people. In May of this year, the international conference The Storehouse of the Mind of Matanguli was held in Almaty. Enemies. Great interest in our country was aroused by the documentary classic My Name, known among the people, which was filmed with the participation of cultural figures of Kazakhstan and broadcast on national television. This year, Kazakhstan has also initiated the establishment of the Maktamkuli International Prize, which will serve as another tool for popularizing his rich heritage and developing cultural diplomacy. A vivid evidence of the unbreakable bond of friendship and virtue between our peoples was the opening of the monument to Maktamkuli enemies in Astana. This important event was personally attended by the chairman of the Hawk Maslahat of Turkmenistan, Dear Gurbanguly Melikulyevich Berdimuhamedov. We, the Kazakh people, highly appreciate Turkmenistan's practical steps aimed at further strengthening the friendship and strategic partnership of our countries. A monument to the great folk musician and composer of Kazakhstan Kurmangaza was erected in the Maktamkuli and Enemies Parks, which was opened by the President of Turkmenistan, respected Serdar Gurbangulyevich Bed Mohammed. I would like to take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to you. It is symbolic that just yesterday, as part of my official visit, a solemn opening ceremony of the monument to the great Kazakh thinker and poet Abay took place in Ashgabat. The creativity of Abay Anabeloy Maktam Kulefragi combines a careful attitude to spiritual origins and deep reflection on the future of their peoples, and high ideas of humanism, and a broad call for progress. Therefore, their rich philosophical heritage occupies a special place in the multifaceted culture of our peoples, and is also the property of all mankind. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, our peoples are connected by common spiritual roots, a common history, and centuries-old traditions of mutual support. An active dialogue has been established between the two states at all levels, which contributes to the further rapprochement of our peoples and the deepening of Kazakh-Turkmen relations. I wish the brotherly people of Turkmenistan prosperity and success. Thank you for your attention.
Dear Kasim Joe Markamelovich, I express my gratitude to you for such a thorough presentation. Many events are held in the Republic of Kazakhstan on the occasion of the tercentenary of the birth of Maktam Kuli enemies. The opening of the monument to the Turkmen poet-thinker Maktam Kuli Faragi, and the holding of a number of cultural events in Astana, the capital of Kazakhstan, is a great honor for the Turkmen people. Dear Kasim Joe Markamelovich, for these merits you have been awarded the Jubilee Medal for the tercentenary of Maktam Kuli Faragi. I cordially congratulate you on this high award. Dear forum participants, I now give the floor to His Excellency President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev. Please, you have the floor.
It's the Russians there.
Dear forum participants, I am glad to welcome the participants of the International Forum, the interconnection of the times of civilization, the foundations of peace and development, taking place in beautiful Ashgabat. I express my sincere gratitude to the national leader of the Turkmen people, chairman of the Kuk of Oil, Turkmenistan, my dear brother and Gurmanguli Il Mukhammadov, as well as to the president of Turkmenistan, dear Serdar Gurmanguli Bird Mukhammadov, for the traditionally warm welcome and organization of the event at a high level. I would like to emphasize that in the current turbulent and difficult situation in the world, when traditional values are being seriously tested, the leadership of Turkmenistan has elevated the development of literature and education to the level of state policy, turning them into a subjective tool for promoting peace-loving ideas in the international arena. I am confident that today's conference will be an important practical step towards strengthening fraternal ties and bringing our countries and peoples closer together, as well as popularizing our rich spiritual heritage throughout the world. Dear heads of delegations, the blessed land of ancient Turkmenistan has nurtured many outstanding personalities, figures of science, culture, and art. Speaking about this, of course, we recall such famous Turkmen poets, thinkers, scientists as Azadi, Andalib, Shadoai Goibi, and Malik Nafez. Among them, a special place is occupied by the great son of the Turkmen people, Maktam Kulib, whose creative heritage has enriched not only classical poetry of the East, but also world literature. The immortal works of the great humanist, poet, and thinker Maktam Kuli are harmoniously combined with universal values. We celebrate peace and harmony, goodness and justice. At the heart of the works of Maktam Kuli enemies, whose tercentenary is celebrated under the auspices of UNESCO, lies a noble idea: peace, kindness, friendship, cooperation, mercy, and humanity will save the world. In order to understand, to know the soul and heart of the Turkmen people, to know the origins of their qualities such as courage, bravery, and devotion to each other, it is necessary to immerse yourself in the spiritual world of Maktam Kuli. I am proud to note that the people of Uzbekistan also highly appreciate and love Maktam Kuli. He was educated at Shergazi Khan Madrasa in Khiva, where he studied secular and religious sciences. At the same time, Maktam Kuli deeply revered the Great One. We know from our common history that Maktam Kuli deeply revered the great Uzbek poet and thinker Alisher Navoiy and admired his work. Today, wonderful poems of Maktam Kuli and wonderful songs based on them are constantly being heard in our country. Undoubtedly, his immortal works have served to further strengthen the primordial fraternal friendly relations between our peoples since ancient times. Uzbekistan has adopted a special resolution on the wide celebration of the tercentenary of the birth of Maktam Kuliev. Literary evenings, contests, conferences, and seminars are held in connection with this date. Performances are staged in our theaters. Uzbek and Turkmen cinematographers have made a joint feature film about the poet. Today, streets and alleys in our capital and in the regions are named after Maktam Kuli, erected in Tashkent and Kiev. Monuments to this great figure have been erected in Tashkent and Khiva. We also greatly appreciate the respect shown in Turkmenistan for the Uzbek people, our culture, art, and national values. Dear friends, it is very heartening that the majestic Maktam Kuliev Memorial Complex has been erected on the initiative of the leadership of Turkmenistan. This is a very important decision of the leadership of Turkmenistan. It is a vivid symbol of the wisdom or tolerance of the fraternal Turkmen people, inherent in their enlightenment. Such a far-sighted policy of positive neutrality of Turkmenistan has become the basis of great successes achieved over all these years. We welcome that. We welcome the announcement by the UN General Assembly on the initiative of Turkmenistan of next year as the International Year of Peace and Trust, as well as the launch of a unique global dialogue platform. I am sure that the international summit to be held in Ashgabat next December will be a significant event on this good path. We are ready to provide all necessary assistance to our Turkmen brothers. Dear friends, Maktam Kuli enemies wrote about the Almighty, "Let the boundless expanses bloom, let the foundations of our state strengthen." Today, the cherished dreams and aspirations of Maktam Kuli are fully coming true, with her son, she loved her native land, fought for his bright future, sang the truth and justice. We in Uzbekistan are very happy to observe the rapid development of fraternal Turkmenistan, its growth in the international arena, and its international authority. In conclusion, I would like to wish that Turkmenistan, which has given the world such great personalities as Maktam Kulafragi, may always prosper. May peace and tranquility reign in our countries, and our friendship will be eternal. Thank you very much for your attention. Dear Shavkat Miramonovich, thank you for your informative speech. According to the resolution you adopted on the wide celebration of the tercentenary of the Turkmen poet-thinker Maktam Kulafragi in Uzbekistan, various events are being held. It is gratifying to note the publication of a collection of poems by the poet in Uzbek, the creation of songs based on the poet's poems, the installation of his monuments, as well as the filming of a feature film. Dear Shavkat Miramonovich, for your services in honor of this significant date, we have decided to award you with a Jubilee Medal on the occasion of the tricentenary of Maktumkuli Fraga. Congratulations on the award. Dear forum participants, allow me to give the floor to His Excellency President of the Republic of Tajikistan, Imamali Sharipovich Rahman. Please, you have the floor.
Dear Serdar Gurbanovich, dear forum participants, first of all, I would like to express my great gratitude for the invitation to Serdar Gurmagulovich. Thank Reed Mukhamedov for his hospitality and wish him a successful forum. Today's forum is an important event that we celebrate the tercentenary of the outstanding Turkmen poet Maktumkuli. These events have made a great and makes a great contribution to the development of the veneration of the genius of Maktumkuli. The inclusion of the collection of poems by Maktumkuli in the UNESCO World Heritage List is one of the important dates and events. We fully support this decision. In Tajikistan, great importance is given to respected creativity. Various events dedicated to this date are held in our state. In particular, a monument to Maktumkuli was erected in the city of Dushanbe. There is a street named after Maktumkuli in the city of Dushanbe. On the 1st of September, on the Day of Knowledge, which we celebrate in both countries, a school was opened in the Katlan district of Tajikistan on the testimony of Serdar Gurbanguly Bird Mukhamedov. This is also a great event, which means a high level of bilateral cooperation. Dear friends, as we know, Maktumkuli and his enemies have a unique form of presenting thoughts. He made a great contribution to the cause of not only Turkmen speaking, but also foreign language poetry and prose. As you know, Maktumkuli, when he was young, he had a lot of experience studying foreign language literature. He received his inspiration, including from foreign language sources. In this regard, I would like to mention Omar Khayyam, Ferdowsi, Jalaluddin Baqi, Shirazi, and other world figures. Maktumkuli's work currently inspires the activities of our creative figures. Many employees, famous literary figures and translators translated and published dozens of collections of his works in Tajik. Maktumkuli's creativity is permeated with such ideas of humanism as friendship, brotherhood, benevolence, caring. and moral beauty of a person. Without a doubt, his creative legacy is an important bridge for the expansion of intercultural ties and the rapprochement of our countries and peoples. Dear friends, in our opinion, intercultural cooperation has a significant potential as an effective factor of intraethnic interaction and strengthening mutual understanding between peoples. With this in mind, our countries should set an example of respectful and tolerant attitude to each other's traditions, values, and spiritual and cultural heritage. Tajikistan has consistently advocated the adoption of joint practical measures to deepen cooperation in the humanitarian field. We will continue to make the necessary efforts to develop cultural and humanitarian cooperation with all our partners, including Turkmenistan. In this context, I would like to note the high-quality level of the entire complex of Tajik-Turkmen relations, which today have acquired the character of an in-depth strategic partnership. In conclusion, I would like to sincerely congratulate friendly Turkmenistan on the excellent organization and high level of the forum. I would like to conclude my speech with the wonderful words of Maktumkuli Fragi, which he wrote in the Tajik language, praising friendship, unity, and devotion to his land. Tribes live as a single family, one tablecloth is lost for joy and sorrow. United by customs and laws of life, a high proportion of the fatherland is given. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Emomali Sharipovich, for your deeply informative speech. Maktum Kula Fragi's poems are loved and read in friendly Tajikistan. Poetry collections are regularly published. The opening of a comprehensive secondary school named after Maktum Kuli in the Dusi district of the Haltan region of the Republic of Tajikistan has become an important event glorifying the friendship of our peoples. Dear Emomali Sharipovich, for your contribution to the popularization of Maktum Kula Fraga's creativity, we have decided to award you with the Jubilee Medal for the tercentenary of Maktum Kula Fraga. Congratulations on the award. Dear participants of the International Forum, now I would like to give the floor to His Excellency President of the Kyrgyz Republic, Sadir Nurgo Jovic Japarev. Please, you have the floor. Dear Serdar Gurbangulyevich, dear heads of state, dear participants of today's event, I express my sincere gratitude to the President of Turkmenistan, dear Serdar Gurbangulyevich Berdimuhamedov, for the invitation to take part in the work of the International Forum, the Interrelation of Times and Civilization, the Foundation of Peace and Development, dedicated to the 300th anniversary of the great Turkmen poet and thinker, Maktum Kuliev enemies. I want to start my speech with the words of our fellow countryman, writer and thinker Chingiz Aitmatov, who said the following about the work of Maktum Kuli. The fact that the word Maktum Kuli has reached our days is a feat of the Turkmen people. Maktum Kuli remained in the hearts of the Turkmens. on the lips of wandering Bakshi dervishes, on large and small roads, in bazaars and caravanserai, in yurts, and at shepherds' fires. With poems on their lips, they went into battle and to the block. The poems of Maktam Kulafragi celebrated the birth of a man and mourned his death. I take this opportunity to express my gratitude to the Turkmen people for the installation of the monument to Chingiz Aitmatov in the Cultural and Park Complex, along with other famous writers and poets of the world level. Our Turkmen brothers can be proud that Maktam Kuliev is not just a name in history, he is a symbol of the spirit of freedom, humanity, and high morality, whose ideas and creativity have become a bridge between times, peoples, and civilizations. In his poetic world, Maktam Kulivragi managed to collect all the colors and riches of folk art. His works act as a stating force, because poetry is a universal way of communication. In his poems, he called people to purity, morality, to such highest human qualities as patriotism, humanism, courage, honor, and dignity. These covenants are still relevant today. His works are filled with wisdom that unites the generation, passing on the knowledge necessary for the harmonious development of society. Today, celebrating the poet's 300th anniversary, we realize how closely our traditions are intertwined. Maktam Kulafragi embodies the very interconnection of times and civilizations that shapes the future and present of peoples. In his works, one can find answers to such questions as the preservation of peace, relations between peoples, and how, based on the lessons of the past, to move towards a prosperous and stable future. In 2023 year, in honor of the tricentenary of Maktam Kuli Raga in the Kyrgyz Republic, a performance of Maktam Kuli was staged on the stage of the Batken Regional Musical and Drama Theatre named after Apis Janakov, which was dedicated to the life and work of the great Turkmen poet. This performance was also successfully presented at the 4th International Theatre Festival, which was held in Turkmenistan in November 2023 year. I would like to note that last week a scientific and practical conference of 300 years in classics was organized in Bishkek, with the participation of scientific and creative intelligentsia, Oriental poetry of Tümkülev enemies, where a book of selected works in the Kyrgyz language Dandal Malar was presented. Dear heads of delegations, I am sure that I am confident that today's forum will serve as a solid foundation for strengthening cultural and humanitarian cooperation between our countries that have long been linked by deep historical roots. Forums like today's create a unique platform for discussing and deepening the ties between our peoples. They help to strengthen the dialogue and lay the foundation for closer cooperation in the future. After all, culture and spirituality are an inseparable part of successful international cooperation and sustainable peace. We live in an era of change, where the world is facing new challenges, be it climate change, globalization, or a technological revolution. But it is at such moments that we need to turn to the lessons of the past, to the great thinkers who have already shown the way to harmony and development. Maktam Kulafragi's teaching reminds us of the need for tolerance, mutual respect, and cooperation for the common good. Dear colleagues, dear friends, in conclusion, I want to say that the tricentenary of the Maktam Kuli Raga is not just an anniversary. It is a reminder to all of us of our common responsibility to future generations, responsibility for burying the world, for building societies based on justice, mutual understanding, and respect for the traditions of each nation. It is important to note that culture not only unites us, but also inspires us to new achievements. It helps us to understand each other better, overcome barriers, and create strong ties based on mutual respect and trust. As noted by Chingiz Aitmatov, speaking about the work of Maktum Kuliev, the meaning and significance of cultural heritage lies in the fact that the national heritage of a particular people is generously distributed to others, include the values of the culture of other peoples, and thereby contribute to the process of spiritual mutual influence. This is the case when the giver does not lose, but gains. The giver does not become impoverished, but enriches. I wish all participants of the forum fruitful work, new ideas and discoveries that will serve to strengthen peace and cooperation between our countries. Let the legacy of the great thinkers of the past, as well as Maktum Kulafraki, inspire us to further success and peaceful coexistence. Thank you for your attention. Dear Satur Nurgazevich, thank you for such a meaningful presentation. You provide extensive support in the study of the work of our poet-thinker. A number of events dedicated to the tricentenary of the great poet were given. Dear Sadie Nurgajevich, for your services in popularizing Maktum Kulin in Kyrgyzstan, we have decided to award you with a Jubilee Medal in honor of the tricentenary of the great thinker. Congratulations on the award. Dear participants of the International Forum, I am now giving the floor to His Excellency President of the Republic of Armenia, Vagn Kakaturian. Please, you have the floor. Dear Serdar Berdimuhamedov, Your Excellency, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor for me to participate in this high international forum organized in honor of the tricentenary of the pride of the Turkmen people, the outstanding poet and thinker, the founder of the Turkmen classical literature, Maktum Kulin. His unique contribution. He left an indelible mark on the culture and intellectual heritage of the region, in the literary and national identity of Turkmenistan, and his legacy continues to inspire generations in different parts of the world. Maktum Kulin is certainly one of those cultural geniuses. Maktum Kuli's poetry is a vivid evidence of the complex interaction, challenges, bold ambitions, and enduring triumphs that define the historical cultural narrative of the Turkmen people. As a defender of universal values and a humanist, his messages remain relevant today. Armenians are well acquainted with his works, which allows us to see many subtle parallels between his literary contribution and the rich fabric of the Armenian literary history of the same period. In this context, it is appropriate to note the rich and refined literary heritage of Satanova. His musical poetic creativity serves as a cultural beacon for the Armenian world, just as the works of Maktum Kuli have a similar meaning for the people of Turkmenistan. Although both poets delve into universal themes such as love, devotion, identity, they deeply illuminate the richness and diversity of human experience. Maktum Kuli expanded the concept of national literature, emphasizing the human values that unite us all. He touched upon various aspects of human experience, while at the same time emphasizing the features that unite us. In this sense, this memorable event can be considered as an important undertaking to rethink classical literature, an effort aimed at establishing meaningful ties between peoples and cultures. Cultivating mutual respect and promoting a deep understanding of the need to integrate national literatures into the broader context of global heritage. Reading the poems of Maktam Kuli, you can feel the shade and coolness in the Turkmen poems. Let's Go Maktam Kuli by nature pacifistic. In his works, he sends a message of peace to all the peoples of the world. Maktam Kuli's poetry can be better described in his own words, brighter than the sun and purer than the moon. It is especially interesting that Maktam Kuli reminds his readers that the benefactor is blessed because good deeds expand the world. Here we see that the author connects the welfare of society with the welfare of everyone, each individual. And humanity needs to hear and carefully penetrate this message, coming from the depths of centuries and never before. When we are faced with unprecedented challenges, new threats and challenges on a global scale. With great respect, I inform you that the translation into Armenian of the selected works of Maktam Kuli Enemies will be presented tomorrow in the capital of Turkmenistan. Conclusion: I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the distinguished President of Turkmenistan for the kind invitation to this special meeting, constructive dialogue, and for facilitating the creation of a new platform for further development of cooperation. Dear Vahan Garnigovich, thank you for your deeply informative speech. The holding of numerous events dedicated to this classic in Armenia and the translation of his poems into Armenian are a sign of respect for the spiritual heritage of the great thinker. Dear Vahan Garnikovich, we thank you for your contribution to the wide popularization of Maktam Kulin's work in Armenia. Taking into account your achievements in this direction, we have decided to award you with a Jubilee Medal on the occasion of the tercentenary of the great master of the word. Congratulations on the award. Dear participants of the International Forum, dear ones, now I would like to give the floor to His Excellency President of Mongolia, Akhnagin Kurasuko. Please, you have the floor.
His Excellency President Serdar Berdimuhamedov. Dear guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen. I am glad to take part as an honorary guest in the International Forum, The Relationship of Time and Civilization, the Foundation of Peace and Development, dedicated to the 300th anniversary of the birth of the famous Turkmen poet and thinker Maktumli Fraga. I want to convey to you a warm greeting on behalf of the Mongolian people. I express my deep gratitude to the President of Turkmenistan, Mr. Serdar Berdimuhamedov, and the friendly Turkmen people for the warm and hospitable reception. The peoples of Central Asia are well aware of Maktumli Fragi as a famous poet and thinker, the founder of modern Turkmen literature, who made an important contribution not only to world literature, but also to the development of Eastern civilization. In 2023, UNESCO adopted resolutions on the celebration dedicated to the third centenary of the birth of the famous Turkmen poet and thinker Maktumli Fraga, and included him in the memory of the world, which is a vivid evidence that he is a great poet recognized internationally. Maktumli Fragi traveled to many countries of the world and studied the customs and civilization of the country, which played an important role in shaping his worldview, and this idea is reflected in his philosophy, poetry, and creativity about unity and humanity. The dream and wise teachings of the famous poet and thinker Maktamgli Fraga about creating independent Turkmenistan in Central Asia. Creating a friendly, peaceful and prosperous life for his people have now, as you can see, come true. And this is the current spiritual source of the people of Turkmenistan, including the foundations of the state policy of neutrality pursued by Turkmenistan. Famous Turkmen poets and thinker. The thinker Maktamgli Fragi in his works, and those with amazing beauty, reflected the love of nature and animals, especially horses. Our two peoples have had a wonderful historical tradition since ancient times, to honor and carefully protect their horses and herds of horses. Like us, the Mongols from ancient history, the Turkmen treats his steeds with deep affection, but as a faithful friend of man. And it is impossible for the Turkmens to stop without his famous horse of the breed about Haltik. We, the Mongols, who depicted our horses on the state emblem, believe that a man and a horse are one, and we consider our horses to be the jewel and pride of the Mongolian people. Our people are also well aware that Turkmens consider their horses national pride. This is the spiritual and heartfelt kinship, not only between our two peoples, but also the countries of Central Asia. In the works of Maktamgli Fraga, the people of Turkmenistan are like the indigenous inhabitants of the desert, who consider it as a god. He also mentions the essence of the harsh desert and the wisdom of proper interaction with Mother Nature. For us, the Mongols, as a representative of a nomadic civilization for thousands of years, it has been obvious for a long time that humanity is connected with Mother Nature by indissoluble ties, and we have always tried to carefully protect her. The source of nomadic civilization is respect for nature, reasonable use of its gifts, and the preservation of the law and harmony between man and nature, which is the idea of sustainable development. Therefore, the ideas of sustainable development, which form the basis of the existence and development of modern humanity, are deeply embedded in the works of the famous Turkmen poet, thinker Maktamgli. Dear participating guests, Maktamgli Fragi expressed the ideas of unity and peace in such vivid words as tribes live as a single family. One tablecloth is spread out for them, a high share of the motherland is given, and granite melts before the troops of Turkmenistan. Looking back at the history of mankind, it can be noted that although each epoch had its own characteristics, humanity has always strived for unity and peace. The world community has created the current international communication, having overcome many trials, wars, and difficult times. And today, we show you the fastest growing era in the history of mankind. Mongolia, as a country that adheres to a peaceful, open, independent, and multi-vector foreign policy, respects pluralism, which comes from history, culture, civilization, religions, national interests, and ways of development of the countries of the world, and strives to promote international relations based on the principles of multi-vector. Also, strengthening multilateral cooperation in compliance with international law and the Charter of the United Nations is a key way to ensure international peace and security, and including strengthening dialogues of mutual understanding, mutual trust and mutual respect, we consider as the main foundation of global stability of peaceful existence. It is necessary to start with the search for appropriate solutions and the development of creative cooperation, taking into account the changes and rhythms of our era to consolidate peace in the fight against climate change, as well as the protection of public health, including the reduction of economic inequality and the establishment of justice by law, is put before the international community. Mongolia is actively working to protect the interests of landlocked developing countries, as well as to present the special needs of such countries to the international community and to disclose their capabilities. In this context, we strive for cooperation in the direction of expanding and developing the mechanism of cooperation and interaction of landlocked countries, and protecting our common interests in the international arena. Mongolia, as a country that knows the problems of landlocked countries, strives to implement this issue on a large scale, as well as to organize an international research center with previously landlocked in the city of Ulaanbaatar. In this Suzy, I suggest that all of you join the agreement on the establishment of an international research center for landlocked countries to Instagram. It is convenient for you to take the time and cooperate in this direction. And I am pleased to announce that at the moment such Central Asian countries as Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan have joined this organization. In addition, Mongolia strives to actively develop bilateral and multilateral cooperation with our eternal neighbors, the Russian Federation and the People's Republic of China, as well as with the states of Central Asia and the region as a whole, and intends to further expand and develop relations and cooperation. Mongolia will closely cooperate with the countries of the region that have traditionally friendly relations, in order to maintain peace and security around the world, achieve the goal of sustainable development, and overcome many challenges and problems such as environmental and climate change, food security. I am sure that this international forum, dedicated to the 3-year anniversary of the birth of the famous Turkmen poet and thinker Maktam Gula Fraga, the relationship of times and civilization is the basis of peace and development, will contribute to strengthening peaceful coexistence, sustainable development, and well-being of all mankind in this world. I wish you great success in the forum. Thank you for your attention, dear colleagues.
Thank you so much for your informative presentation. We express our gratitude to you for respecting the cultural heritage and history of the Turkmen people. I have decided to award you with a Jubilee Medal for the Tercentenary of Maktamkuli Farajay. Congratulations on the award. Dear participants of the International Forum, now I would like to give the floor to His Excellency Chairman of the Grand National Assembly of the Republic of Turkey, Numan Kurtulmuş. Please, you have the floor. Dear President of Turkmenistan, Mr. Serdar Alberdu Muhammadov, dear heads of state, dear participants. I greet you all on behalf of the Grand National Assembly of Turkey. I convey to His Excellency the greetings and the message of friendship of the Turkish people, which we represent. Maktamkulov Faraki is a big poetic world. It is a vast world of thoughts that enlighten not only the lands where he was born, but also all the Turkish provinces and the tercentenaries that we are celebrating with us today. Once again confirm that this is a very outstanding personality. Sarefi dedicated a large number of poems to the unity of the Turkmen people and the Turkic tribes. He had a great love for independence, freedom. He was against oppression. And these were, of course, very obvious and outstanding qualities of his. His creativity is endowed with a wealth of the world of thought. He really spoke about the unity and peace of the Turkish Islamic world. He said in one of the poems, If the Turkmens stopped, where would they be? They would have dried in the interview room. Neely Maple, Yar Elili. These are the 5 great Turkmen tribes. If only 5 of us served the state, it would also be the greatest contribution to humanity. The disintegration of the biopolar world with the end of the Cold War created huge opportunities for the Turkic people, for the Islamic world. The hasty withdrawal of the United States from Afghanistan has created great opportunities for the people in the regions and the world, and a multilateral multipolar world has become possible both regionally and globally. Unfortunately, the biggest obstacle to these opportunities and advantages is the ongoing conflicts and wars in our region, in this geography. Unfortunately, conflicts and wars in our region are still ongoing, and the achievement of peace is delayed. Although both the state of the region and Turkey are offering great efforts to put an end to these problems and achieve serious success in ending conflicts. Since October of the 23rd year, Israel has been terrorizing Palestine and the Palestinian people. The entire region is under threat. Very serious wounds have been inflicted in the hearts of the entire Turkic world, the entire Islamic world, and all of humanity. The Palestinian people are being subjected to genocide in front of the whole world. With 5,000 dead and almost 80,000 wounded, Palestine turned into a bloody puddle. Netanyahu and his gangs who are in power trample on all the values of humanity, drown the region in blood, in fire, ignore all existing international laws and human rights. Conscious people in different worlds, including Jews who have not lost their sense of justice, unite on the humanitarian front and cry out against this gang to stop this genocide. International institutions are watching this massacre in deep silence because the current system was not created with the demand for justice and equality in the world. They were created so that the winners of the war could control the rest of humanity, the rest of humanity. Now is the time for a new global system, new global institutions, new global principles and sanctions that are based on justice. We need new international institutions and organizations where the sovereignty of the equality of countries is respected, and all decision-making processes take place in a fair format, and there is an uncompromising position on human rights and freedoms. We, as the countries of the region, and the people who live in this region, can mobilize the material and spiritual wealth that we have. Our young population and other advantages of our geopolitics will give us the opportunity to create a fair global system, both in the region and on a global scale. Our historical and cultural ties give us the opportunity to cooperate in various spheres of life. This includes science, economics, technology, and art culture. This is important from the point of view of the unity of our people. The Karaks and many other Turkic Islamic thinkers and enlighteners spoke about this many millennia ago. Ahmed Faraki de Korkut, Yunus Emre. Then they illuminated our geography with their wisdom, so that the peoples of the region could live in peace, prosperity, and fraternal relations. With wisdom, we must use these values so that humanity can build a more just world in the next century. Humanity today is looking for this very justice. Humanity today wishes for the well-being of the world, and we call on humanity to unite its efforts in order to create this just world, because where there is no justice and prosperity, development remains just a fairy tale. Concluding my words of greetings and gratitude, I want to convey once again my respect to both the great national leader of Turkmenistan and the president of our country. Let those who are for justice be our companions. Thank you very much. Thank you for your succinct presentation. The work of Maktam Kalifaragi is also widely studied in Turkey. A monument to the poet has been opened in Ankara, and many events have been held. In strengthening Turkmen and Turkish cooperation. Recently, we awarded the distinguished director Erdogan, the president of Turkey, with the Jubilee Medal to the tercentenary of Maktam Kalifaragi. I wish you great success in the development of Turkmen-Turkish relations. Dear friends and colleagues, now we are giving the floor to the Executive Secretary of the National Commission of Turkmenistan for the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization UNESCO, Shiner Rustamova. Thank you. Independent, permanent, our highly respected Arkady Hero Serdar, President of the independently, permanently neutral Turkmenistan. Dear participants of the International Forum, today, in our country with a 5,000-year history, thanks to the humane policy pursued by the national leader of the Turkmen people, the chairman of the Halk Maslahati of Turkmenistan Hero Arkadag, and the respected president of Arkadag Hero Serdar, celebrations dedicated to the tercentenary of the birth of the great Turkmen poet and famous Eastern thinker Act Kuli. Enemies are following one another. The International Forum, which began its work in the beautiful capital of Ashgabat, with the participation of heads of state and high-ranking representatives of fraternal and friendly countries from all over the world, is one of the significant events of this century, elevating the celebration of the anniversary of our great poet, recognized as a master of Oriental literature. Dear participants of the solemn event, the wonderful works of the great Turkmen poet, Aktem Kuli, left by him as a legacy to his descendants, have been introducing the whole world to our people and country for 3 centuries. Maktam Kuli, who managed to harden himself under the difficulties of a difficult life and the upheavals of his era, openly shared his joy and grief with the people through his wonderful poems, healed wounded souls, filled the hearts of those suffering from disunity, inequality, disenfranchisement, and the absence of a single state with light, and served as a healing balm for their unfulfilled hopes and dreams. Back in the 18th century, Mahatma Kuli called peoples to friendship, brotherhood, solidarity, and was recognized throughout the world as a peacemaker poet thanks to his works filled with deep meaning. The poet, through his poems, continues to strengthen the friendly and mutually agreed relations between the states of the world today. After all, Martham Culey, from this point of view, Maktam Culey is not only a poet of the Turkmen people, but also a poet of universal scale, who has settled forever in the hearts of people all over the world. Today, thanks to the great efforts of our hero Arkadag and Arkadag hero Serdar, large-scale work is being carried out in our country to deeply study and popularize the life and work of the wise poet. These efforts are supported by reputable international organizations, primarily the United Nations and its member states, as well as UNESCO, which deals with education, science, and culture. A striking example